friends, welcome back to Food Prep Guide. We are back in the kitchen today with another canning tutorial. Today we are canning coleslaw starter. Now coleslaw is not safe to can because of the mayonnaise and all the other stuff that's in it. But what we're doing is basically canning a coleslaw relish that's going to allow us to very quickly make coleslaw on the fly. Now before I get started, I want to note that this is not a tested published recipe. This is tweaked from a tested published recipe. And I always want to note whenever I deviate from a tested recipe, I want you to know up front the changes that I have made. If you are brand new to canning, I highly recommend that you stick to tested recipes and that you don't deviate. And the reason why I say that is because as you can, using those tested and published and proven safe recipes, it is actually teaching you the pillars of canning safety as far as acidity goes and density and what can and cannot be canned. So if you're brand new to canning, I don't recommend making this recipe. But this is tweaked from a recipe that in between a sauerkraut and a pickle relish. So the two main things that I am concerned about when I am tweaking a recipe is maintaining safe acidity and maintaining safe density. And I am assured that this acidity is going to be safe because I'm using a tested and proven safe brine that would typically be used for pickles. So I know the acidity level is there, and I'm also going to be testing with my pH strips just to double check. As far as density goes, I'm rest assured that it is safe because sauerkraut is a tested and proven safe recipe, and so is an end of season garden relish that uses cabbage, onions, and peppers, and that is basically what we're doing here. And because they are all chopped the exact same way that you would chop a relish, which is tested and proven safe, I'm assured that the density is going to be safe as well. So I just want to note that if you are brand new to canning, you might want to skip over this one and go check out one of our other canning tutorials. I will link one above for you. Okay, let me bring you up closer and we'll get started. So I went ahead and doubled this recipe because we eat a lot of this slaw, but I'm going to go ahead and give you the recipe for just a single batch, which makes around 8 pints. So we need 14 cups of shredded cabbage, 2 large carrots peeled and shredded, 1 large onion chopped, 1 to 2 sweet bell peppers chopped, and 2 tablespoons of salt. Now, because I doubled this recipe, I'm going to go ahead and do about a 1/4 cup of salt. But the salt is just like a pickling brine and just like your relish recipes where we are just pouring in the salt and allowing that salt to draw out the moisture of the vegetables. This salt isn't actually going to stay in the end recipe. We're actually going to be draining and rinsing it out. So as far as how much salt you put in it, it's not it doesn't have to be an exact science, but I'm going to go ahead and just put in about a 1/4 cup. And then I'm going to mix it all together really well. Break up that chunk there. Okay, now this is going to go in the fridge and it's going to sit for approximately 2 hours, and then we'll be back at the next step. Our coleslaw has been soaking and it is time to go ahead and move forward with the next steps. So we are going to get our brine prepared and we're going to get our canner prepared, and then we will drain the slaw. So let's get our brine prepared. Since I'm doing a double batch of this recipe, I need double the brine. So I need 8 cups of vinegar, 4 cups of water, next we need 7 cups of sugar, 2 tablespoons of mustard seed, and 2 tablespoons of celery seed. We're going to give that a good stir. Now we're going to set this on medium-high heat and bring it to a boil. To prepare our canner, we're just going to fill our big water bath canner up about halfway with water. And I'm going to be using a canner basket. And then I've already cleaned my jars, but now I need to get them nice and warm. So I'm going to put them in here. I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat on to about medium, about a 5. Then I'm just going to load my jars into this water before it gets hot so that it can warm up with the water and not experience a temperature shock. That will come up to heat and heat up my jars for me, so we're going to go get our slaw mixture and get that drained. Next step is to drain our slaw mixture and rinse it in cold water. I'm going to have to do this in batches. Rinse with cold water. After our slaw mixture is rinsed and drained, we need to add it to our boiling brine mixture. That's my pressure canner beeping at me, letting me know it's moving on to the next step. I'm multitasking today. Okay, we're going to mix this together really well. Make sure this is all good and submerged underneath the brine. We're going to let this come back up to a boil. I'm going to put it all the way on high. And we're going to boil this mixture for 10 minutes. Our mixture has cooked for 10 minutes, so now it's time to ladle into these jars. I just took the jars out of the canner so they're nice and hot. I've got my brine over here, and we're going to load it up to 1/2-inch headspace. Whoops, I need my funnel. Here we go. I overfilled this one a little bit. Okay, next step is to debubble. For this, we're just going to run this tool down the side. This is just to pop up any air bubbles. You want as little air in the jar as possible. Next step, we need to wipe our rims, make sure there isn't any food particles or sticky sugar on our rims that might prevent a good seal. As I do a jar or two, I'm just folding over my towel to get a fresh surface. This jar had a lot of pieces all the way up at the rim. Don't want those to interfere with the seal, so I'm going to clean that up a bit. Okay. Next, we have new clean lids, and then we're going to put the rings on to finger tight. And into the canner they go. These jars need to process in the canner for 10 minutes, but we're not going to start our time until the water comes to a full rolling boil. It's not considered water bath canning unless you are under the jars are submerged under a full rolling boil for the full processing time. Gently lowering them down. I'm going to double check that my jars are submerged by at least 1 inch of water, and they are submerged by about 2 inches, so we're good to go. I'm going to put the lid on, and we're going to wait until it comes to a rolling boil and then set the timer for 10 minutes. Our 10 minutes are up, and then I turn down the heat and let the jars sit for about 5 more minutes. So now it's time to take them out. If I wasn't canning another batch immediately after this, I would have turned the heat completely off and let the jars sit there completely on not heat for 5 minutes. But it's okay if it just sits on low because I have another batch going in just a minute. At this point, we're going to let these jars sit undisturbed for 12 to 24 hours. We have a video on the steps to take post-canning, and I will link that above. But here is our canned coleslaw starter. To make this, I will drain off the vinegar, might rinse it under cold water, mix it with mayonnaise, and we have a side dish ready in minutes. Hope y'all enjoy. See y'all next time. Bye.